is going on, my chemical industry family, partners, and friends? Welcome back to the Smart Asset Podcast, where we continue to let borons be borons. Today's show is brought to us by Univar Solutions, which offers the reliability that delivers. No matter if your chemistry grows, flows, or knows, Univar Solutions is the value partner you need to help bring the right product to the right solution at the right time. So go to your univarsolutions.com today to find your right solution. This is Andy Erickson, the storied host of the Smart Asset Podcast, and I'm flying solo looking for the next wasabi to my soy sauce. So if you're interested and think you can bring something new to the table, reach out. I'd love to have the conversation. We have an absolute blinder of a show today for our listeners. We are bringing in two subject matter experts in the water treatment arena, and they're going to be talking about all the efforts they're doing to battle the golden mussels in California. Their names are Mike Corcoran and Jack Kenney. They're both subject matter experts here at Univar Solutions. They both work on their water treatment team. One is a product manager, the other is a seller in the water treatment, so they are going to bring the goods. Jack, Mike, my man, how are you guys holding up? What's going on?
Doing all right, Andy. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking.
Doing good.
All right. Also winning. All right, boys, before we get into it, can you both give me a little bit of background on who you are and what makes you up?
Sure. I'll go first. So, got into water treatment basically because of my degrees, right? So I came out of school with biology and aquatic toxicology degrees. And so getting into water treatment kind of seemed like a natural fit. So started early 90s in wastewater, and then the late 90s transitioned over to industrial water. Been doing that ever since. Hopped over to Univar about 4.5 years ago, and happy to be here.
And I've been in chemical distribution since the mid 90s, pushing chemistry up and down the West Coast, and kind of fell into water treatment in the last 8 or 9 years, but have been kind of peripherally involved for the last 30 or so.
Awesome. All right. Well, welcome, boys. Before we get into the meat and potatoes and actually talk about some business, I have a quick little quiz here for you. It's really just to test your expertise in water treatment.
Have at it.
Let's kick off the first question. What is coagulation and what's the primary objective?
Primary objective of coagulation is to overcome the static charges in the water. So you'll have positive and negative charges. You've got to overcome those so the particles will come together and form pin flock.
All right. I'm going to go one for one. The answer I have here is neutralize particle charges so they can start sticking together, but I believe that's what you said. These are multiple choice, but I'm going to see how well you guys do right out of the gates before I give you that. All right. Number 2, which statement best describes flocculation? A chemical step that neutralizes charges on colloids. B, a physical step that uses polymer plus mixing to build larger macroflocks. C, a membrane that separates by pore sizes. Or D, a disinfection step that forms chloramines.
B.
Boom. 2 for 2. Solid. Well done. Fun fact, and allegedly or apparently, which I think you both know, but the material that the flocculants and coagulants create is a sludge. And from what I'm reading, or at least what the internet tells me, is that sludge can be used in fertilizers. So they actually clean it up a little bit and reuse that to fertilize a lot of the environment, golf courses and what have you. So kind of cool little fun fact.
Yeah, land farming is very common. Yep.
Perfect. Awesome. See? All right. What are the definitions of COD and BOD?
Jack, you want to jump in? I've been hogging all the answers.
No, you're the technical expert. I just know how to sell the truck.
All right. So chemical oxygen demand and biological oxygen demand.
All right. And what's the purpose of it? Bonus question.
All right. COD. All right. So the best way to explain it is the amount of demand on the oxygen in the system based on the chemistry that's in there, as opposed to BOD, which is the demand of oxygen on the system from the biology in there. So it's both demands on oxygen, one from the chemical side, one from the biological side.
That's fantastic. To me, what I love about this question is when I was going, so my background's in chemistry, and when I was going through college, I worked at an engineering firm, and they built wastewater treatment plants. So I worked in the lab where they would test the raw and final sewage. Got paid $6.25 an hour, which was a lot of money in college, but yeah, love it. So I did a lot of BOD and COD testing. It is a lab where you don't want to do a whole lot of mouth pipetting because you are sucking up sewage. But anyway, all right, Question 4. A famous historical public health event tied to drinking water in Soho, London, involved removing the handle from what? Was it A, the Broad Street water pump during a cholera outbreak? Was it B, a river intake gate during the Great Chicago Fire? Kind of gave that one away. Is it C, a filtration backwash valve during the 1931 Dust Bowl? Or was it D, a desalination brine outlet during World War II?
Jack, I'm thinking A.
I was thinking B.
Wasn't B related to the Chicago fire?
Yeah, the London Chicago fire.
In London? Yeah, I'm going to stick with A. I can stick with A.
I'd probably go with A, but I have the answers. Yeah, correct. The Broad Street water pump during the cholera outbreak in 1854. Apparently, it was a source of a severe cholera outbreak that killed over 600 people. Didn't know that, but that's what the internet told me. All right, last question. Flint, Michigan's drinking water crisis is strongly associated with A, switching sources without necessary corrosion controls, B, switching disinfectants from UV to ozone, C, replacing chloramides with chlorine dioxide, or D, excessive filtration that removed all minerals and caused aggressive water.
No, it's the first one.
Hey, switching sources without necessary corrosion controls.
Even I know that one.
Yeah. So I think most people do know. I didn't realize, though, that it did act. There's 12 Legionnaires. There's 12 confirmed deaths related to Legionnaires from there, and it cost the city of Flint, Michigan over $600 million in settlements for that.
Oh, yeah. There was a huge outbreak in New York City this summer, actually, too. They traced it to a cooling tower in Harlem.
That's crazy. It wasn't the lead. It was related to the corrosion around the lead pipes, and once they changed it up, it washed off all the corrosion, and that's when lead started getting through.
No, so what happened in Flint, Michigan, they didn't put the proper corrosion inhibitor in there.
That's what it is. Okay.
And so what actually did is they started pulling off the lead from the inside of the pipes. So that led to a lot of lead toxicity in kids. Legionnaires is a completely separate thing. So that's actually a bacteria that'll hide in biofilms, especially in cooling towers. And you've got to actually aspirate that. So if you've got a really infected cooling tower, that'll get out into the air, you breathe it in, and that's how you get sick.
Oh, wow. Who didn't thought? This is why we're talking today. We're educating people. We're educating people. All right. Talk to me, guys. How does your role today, your day-to-day activities and lives, like what are your role today here at Univar Solutions?
I'll go first. I'm the sales general manager in the Southwest District. So my responsibility is basically for sales across this region. But more importantly, in the past 7 or 8 years, I've kind of had a overarching position managing water treatment, how we go to market, what our marketing efforts are locally, and how our sales reps manage those pieces of business.
And you, Mike?
I'm one of the product managers in the water treatment group. So the way I describe it is, I spend a lot of my days interfacing and talking to our suppliers. And then the other half of my day is I'm helping out our field reps with questions about those products. So I kind of bridge the gap between our field reps and the suppliers, act as a technical resource to make sure everybody gets their questions answered and we get the right chemistries out there.
And how does water treatment fit in? Like if you're going to give a broad answer of what is water treatment? Where does Univar Solutions play in that?
All right. The way I explain it to people is I tell them water treatment is that stuff they never think about until it stops working. Right. Everyone turns on the tap in their house and they just assume fresh water is going to come out, and they flush the toilet and they assume somebody somewhere is taking care of it. And you never think about it until it stops working. So that's kind of the quick and easy answer I give to people.
And then how does, knowing that we're a distribution company, how do we participate in water treatment? Is that just drinking water, or where do we participate?
All the way from the front of the drinking water plant through that to your houses. And then as it comes back out again, we pick it back up at the front of the wastewater treatment plant, and we go through it all the way through final disinfection of the effluent before it kicks out to the receiving stream. So we are in the entire process.
And then how, from a standpoint of a distributor, how do we focus or how do we participate in the efforts to sell the chemistries that we have for our producer partners?
We participate in any number of ways, primarily through municipal bids, which is kind of like a gateway for us to sell other chemistries. We participate across the board in those for wastewater and drinking water. And what that allows us to do is get in the plant to sell non-contract items, which are usually more complicated, requires a little more technical work. But across the board, we sell everything into every type of water system there is.
So it's relatively fair to say that every single one of our customers more than likely touches water treatment in some aspect, whether or not, and it might not even be related to drinking water.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, it's easy to say that water treatment touches everything because water treatment is the most critical product line or customer class that we deal with. We touch every aspect of water because water touches everything that we do on a day-to-day basis. It's the single most important commodity, mineral, whatever you want to call it in the world. Water is the thing.
And then this is just more so people get an understanding. Is water considered an organic chemistry, or what is water?
Wow, we've suddenly switched over to philosophy class, right? So
yeah, right. Yeah, let's go. This is why we're here.
Without water, life doesn't exist, right? So it's one of the fundamental building blocks of life, not only for us, but for animals, for plants, for pretty much everything. It's the one element that underpins and ties us all together. No water, no life, right? That's just as simple as it gets.
Bottom line is it's important. Bottom line is it's extremely important, and we participate in the most important thing. All right, talk to me, guys, a little bit about this golden mussel situation that you both have been working on and participating in.
Well, the golden mussel is just another of a long line of invasive species that have impacted North America. Primarily, you can trace it back to the quagga zebra mussel that started in the St. Lawrence Seaway into the Great Lakes and impacted that entire region. The same kind of thing occurred in California in October of 2024 when a boat released its ballast, and in that ballast water was the golden mussel. So the golden mussel is more invasive and more critical than other invasive species in the Delta because it spreads so quickly and its survivability is so much greater than other invasive mussels. For example, it started in the Delta, and within a year, maybe a year and a few months, it's traveled all the way down to Riverside County, which is roughly 400 miles. And that's a single year. And it's going to explode exponentially up and down the Delta, and it'll go north, inland, wherever a boat can go. You put a pleasure craft on an infected lake, even though they do inspections, there's a great possibility that this will move overland and impact other areas.
So what are we doing? Like, I guess, how are we participating? What are we doing for this? Like, how are we helping our, I guess, what's our impact? What's Univar Solutions' impact on this?
Mainly Jack has been doing a lot of outreach and advocacy to make all those municipalities, the local governments aware of what we can do for them. So we have a great chemical partner with CPRO with their product called EarthTech QZ. QZ is for quagga and zebra mussel. Again, that's what Jack was talking about. That's the main invasive species east of the Mississippi. Works just as well on the golden mussel. That is the big problem right now. So we've been going around. We've been talking to the municipalities, letting them know that we've got this chemistry that can help mitigate and slow that impact. And it's one of those things where it's not something you want to wait to see if you're going to get it before you start treating. If you're downstream in that waterway, you are going to get it. And so it's something you want to treat before it gets there, because the cost of treating before it gets there is significantly lower than waiting for it to show up and then trying to eradicate it once it gets there. So that's the message we're kind of going around trying to spread to people. Jack was at a trade show last week. We're all going to be at another trade show in Northern California next week. So that's the kind of message we're trying to get out there with our customers and potential customers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Right now, it's more about advocacy because everyone thinks they have a solution, and the goal for Univar in any situation is to offer multiple solutions to a given problem. And we're fortunate that we represent a product that is one of the preeminent solutions to this situation. And as Mike said, once it gets into your system, once it has the actual mussel shell and is attached to your substrate, be it a pipe or a screen or an intake valve or anything like that, that's when you have your monetary impact. You lower your flow rates, You have to go out and mechanically remove them. There's lots of things you have to do that are very expensive and impactful. And you have to bear in mind that the municipalities that are bearing this impact are only paid by how many customers or how many hookups they have in their district. So anytime you have a golden mussel, an invasive species, whatever it is, that starts to impact the cost of your water, that's impacting the population. So there's a lot of constraints on that. And right now, a lot of these agencies, they just want to know what to do because there are multiple solutions to the situation. And, again, advocacy is the best way. I don't want to go and say, you have to take this product. This is the only product. I want to go and say, these are your options. This is the one that makes sense. This is the data. Help them decide.
If you got ahead of this, so let's say you haven't been impacted by the golden mussels, you can treat this prior, I think is what you're saying. And can you almost prevent it, or is it really the prevention? It's not there, but you're going to slow the process way down.
I wouldn't want to say that you could prevent it because the velager, which is the larvae, the little bitty babies, if so to speak, are so small, they're microscopic, you can't see it. So to say that you could eliminate that 100% is not completely true, in my opinion. Those things can survive in a bottle cap of water. A living shell can survive on land for up to 30 days. So there's lots of different ways these things can sneak into your system. But with that being said, if you use a product like EarthTech, you definitely can decrease your risk and mitigate that potential a great deal. Is it 100%? I would never say yes, it's 100%, but is it as good as it's going to get? Yeah, absolutely. And you speak to it, mitigating before it impacts is the way to go. If you start now, because these municipalities, water systems, irrigation companies are discovering it's an issue, they need to start now, today, last week, to get ahead of this. Because once those shells attach, they're not easy to get rid of.
Yeah, Andy, a good way to think about this is, if you think about if the waterways of California are like the arteries in your body, right? The golden mussel is like plaque, right? And so once you start getting plaque in your arteries, it'll eventually get to a point that it's going to shut down one of the arteries in your heart and you're going to have a heart attack. Same exact thing is going to happen. So you're going to have these pipes that just get completely occluded with golden mussels. And like Jack was saying, there's no way to get those off with the exception of just mechanical removal. You've got to get in there and pick those out, or you've got to hydroblast them. Even if you can kill the adult, all you're doing is leaving the empty shell behind, and you're still going to have to go in there and hydroblast that thing out. So getting ahead of it is exactly what you want to do. So you can kill the veligers, or when those adults start to lay down, you can kill them just as they start to attach. And that way they're still very, very small, and it's not going to clog up that pipe as much. This is one of those things where getting out ahead of it is going to be significantly more impactful than waiting for it to be a problem and then trying to deal with it later on. You want to prevent a heart attack, or you want to take the risk and actually have the heart attack and then see what your doctor can do after the fact. It's a perfect analogy for this situation.
And then I thought I read this somewhere, so definitely please correct me if I'm wrong. So the golden mussels, somebody dropped their ballast, it got pretty much dropped the invasive species into the area, and it's caused it. The zebra mussels on the East Coast, so you talked a little bit about two different types of mussels, but same type of activity. Were those zebra mussels actually brought into Lake Erie and into St. Lawrence waterway to clean?
Yeah.
So that was intentional.
No. So zebra mussels actually came in from ballast water from the Black Sea. Same exact thing. It's when they connected the St. Lawrence Seaway in through the Great Lakes, right? Then they came in. No, in fact, what you're talking about is, it was one of the early misconceptions about it, is people looked at that and thought, oh, wow, we've got zebra mussels here. It's not a big deal. Look how clean and clear Lake Michigan is right now. But what was actually happening is those zebra mussels are completely filtering out basically the food chain. So they filtered out all the algae, all the microplankton, all the zooplankton, and the fish populations actually crashed in Lake Michigan. So everyone was like, hey, great. And then suddenly it was like, oh, no.
Got it. Okay, okay.
Yeah, so that's probably what you were alluding to. Yeah.
And it's fair to say that neither types of these mussels are the types of mussels that anybody eats.
You can't eat it now.
You can't eat them. All right, so that's that. All right, so there's no way.
You could try. I don't recommend it.
No, all right. No, it's really appreciated, the knowledge there. If we'll go first to you, Mike, and then we can go to you, Jack. If there was one takeaway, after this dialogue and discussion, you want our listeners to walk away with, what would it be?
Treat water as the precious resource that it is, right? It's going to keep getting scarcer. It's going to keep getting more expensive. So treat it well. Treat it like the commodity that it is, the precious commodity that it is.
Even with the situation that's happening right now and how a gallon of gasoline, what that costs, we still pay more for a gallon of water at a gas station than we do a gallon of gasoline, if you think about it, which is crazy.
Next time you're in the airport, pick up a little quart bottle of Fiji water. See how much that costs you.
Yeah. How about you, Jack? What's the one takeaway you'd want a listener to walk away with?
The key takeaway I would have is that not to hesitate. If you have a situation, a problem of any kind in a water treatment plant, wastewater plant, conveyance system, reach out to Univar because we have the technical expertise that we could help you with that. That goes for coaga zebra, invasive species, golden mussel, really anything. So I would want people to think, like what Mike said, how precious water is, how critical it is, how expensive it's getting and will become, especially in the drought that's ongoing in Southern California, Southern United States. Reach out. If we can't solve it, I'd be shocked. Absolutely shocked.
All right, Univar Solutions family, partners, and friends, that's a wrap. I want to thank Mike and Jack for being here. Please remember to get out, hit like, and listen to the Smart Acid on any of your favorite channels, whether it be Spotify, Apple, or even watch us on YouTube. We'd love to have you. Until next time, please continue to sell the great chemistries of our chemical partners and the value of Univar Solutions. Appreciate it. Thank you.